Good day, guys, and welcome back to the channel. How good is it to have a bit of cooler weather after the last couple of days? It's been scorching over here in Australia. But speaking of scorching, he's fresh off Arizona. Randomstatsguy is here once again. He was here on the channel last year to speak about Supercoach. We've invited him back again, and we're looking forward to talking all things getting into round one, which is only less than a week away to you guys. At the time of us filming this, it's over a week away, but for everyone else, it's less than a week away. How are you?
Oh, mate, amazing trip over in Arizona. You'll love it because you're going to LA soon, so the cold will be perfect for you if you love the cold. But glad to be back in the heat of Australia, mate. But the Super Bowl was literally unbelievable. Great experience, and fully recommend paying the money. It is worth every cent.
Were you wearing your own team's jersey, or were you over there rocking either the Chiefs or the Eagles jerseys?
I was so close to being that random South guy. I was considering it. Just didn't pay for the jersey, but I was up in the bleachers, so like literally the furthest row back. So they probably wouldn't have seen me. But I knew a few guys there. Some guy was wearing a Dogs jersey, obviously because Maliato. Another one wearing a random South jersey as well. I don't think any of them got on the telly though.
What did you think of the NRL preseason challenge? Obviously, you were probably coming back from America or still over there, so it was limited as to probably what you got to see. But what did you think of the NRL preseason?
Yeah, I thought there was some really good, talented players that are going to feature throughout my team that are very cheap. I thought one player who stood out of everyone, and I'm not too sure if it's because Guru is just stuck in my algorithm at the moment, but Jermaine Hopgood, boy, you've got a good one over there at lock. He is a perfect fit for your side, the Eels. But other than that, I think there were a lot of other standouts that will feature in my team. So I'll get to them in just a second.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, guys, as of this video coming out next Friday, you will know my 2023 ladder prediction. Technically, I haven't posted it yet, but by the time this comes around, I have. So you're actually going to be the first person, if I speak about a team in regards to the position, you should feel very privileged tonight. But let's get straight into it. Now, for me, the hooker position, as one player, I think I've still had him going towards the end of last year. May have traded him, acquired him back at one point. He is the highest paying hooker, according to Supercoach, in this game, but I think he's very reliable. Even if he doesn't start so well, he definitely averages around that 50 or plus points as the game tends to go on. And as I'm mentioning, the Melbourne Storm, Harry Grant, I think there are some other hookers that people can consider. Brandon Smith will probably be starting. Can he maintain that 80 minutes? They have got Jake Turpin, so the Roosters have two nice choices there. But for me, I think Harry Grant is that bold choice. The only worry is obviously origin period. Do I have a good enough backup? Well, my backup is going to be someone that I think his minutes may be limited to an extent, but I've gone with Jaden Sullivan from the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I think there's a lot of problems at the Dragons, and I have the Dragons, I'll say it, I have the Dragons in 16th. I don't have them right there at the bottom. I might speak about the team I have at the bottom, but for me, I think Jaden Sullivan will be that kind of standout and develop more into the hooker, and you could move him into the starting side if Harry Grant, which he probably will, finds himself in a Maroons jersey. He's at 816K.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice, mate. I think, Harry Grant for me, he's straight into my side. He can provide tries. He can score tries. He's an 80-minute hooker at best for Melbourne. And with Ryan Pappenhausen still out, they're really depending here on Grant, Hughes, and Munster throughout this start of the season at least. So I think he'll be the center of most of their playmaking skills, much like Cam Smith. So I really like him. On my bench, I've gone just for some El Cheapos because I've gone real hard on my starting side here. I've gone Freddie Lussick. Now, I know he probably won't get a bench spot to start with, but if injuries arise, he's straight in there. Really liked him in the preseason challenge. He ran the ball a lot, which is good for fantasy points. Probably not for the Warriors and for the hooker position that he is, but he loves to run the ball, does have a high tackle rate as well. So what he can provide there, I really like. And at 276K, it's enough to fill the spot, but he's definitely not a reserve at the moment. He probably won't get a start for a while, but he's just sitting there right now for me.
I was actually looking at Freddie Lussick myself, but the only thing, and obviously the coaching system will be very different at the New Zealand Warriors. The only thing for me is if there is an injury, do you still think there's a chance that Dylan Walker could move into that role? Because they've got obviously a lot of depth within that side, that Viliami Viella kind of players. And Dylan Walker is that player who's provided X factor for Manly off the bench. And that's why I didn't go with him that role. But it is a good choice. But I really feared I forget who the Warriors. Is it Stacey Jones? Is it Stacey Jones taking over the Warriors now? Yeah.
No, it's Andrew Webster.
Co with David Webster.
Sorry, Andrew Webster is running the Warriors. He's the coach.
He's the main coach.
Yeah. Or the head coach. Yeah.
Oh right. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay, I thought it was Stacey Jones or something. Oh right.
No, he was just the interim.
Yeah, he's interim. Oh well, I wonder how they'll make that decision. Hopefully they don't have injury, or in your case, maybe. But for the most part, hopefully they don't have injury. Let's move into the front rowers. Now, I spent quite a bit of time on this one. There are a lot of options. I deleted a lot of players. I think he was coming off a great trial as well. And I think he's found himself regularly in a New South Wales Blues jersey, but he also drops off a bit in form. And I think this is going to be a big season because even though I personally have this side fighting for the 8 but missing it, I think they're in for a big year. I'm going to go with Jake Trbojevic. Jake Trbojevic makes plenty of tackles per games. I think he's a very reliable player. He's at 520K, which I don't think is too bad a value for him. And the other choice I'm going for my starting front row, which is a little bit of a left field one, but I think the ball carrying of the Penrith Panthers without these star back rowers like Viliami Kikau, I think it leaves a lot to the forwards, which is why I tossed between Fisher Harris and this bloke. But I think Spencer Leniu had an absolutely fantastic grand final and a great season nonetheless. So at 300K, I've picked up Spencer Leniu as my starting front rower. On the bench, I've gone with someone that a lot of people have talked about. His minutes will probably be quite small to start with, but we'll see how he goes throughout the season. Very cheap price. I think he's in his 3rd season. Davey Moel from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. He could find himself a starting spot at the moment. It's definitely the bench, but he could even find himself in that starting side at some point throughout the season. And then another player that I think we'll see from the Penrith Panthers return. We saw a couple games, 1 or 2 from him last year. Very, very cheap price. Had a fantastic game. Is Eddie Blacker.
Beautiful. Love that. And I'll just get straight into it. Davey Moal is on my bench as well. He was running. He had 114 run meters last weekend against the Dragons. I know it's the Dragons and they're 16th on your ladder predictor, probably even lower on my one. But still, he's getting more minutes and we need to start seeing him a bit more. I think 234K is very good value. So definitely have him on your bench. Going to my starters, I've gone hard, as I said. Payne Haas, you just can't miss him. Tackling and in attack, he always makes over 157 meters. He's always going to have around 16, 17 runs, that top end of all front rowers. And then he's also got the offload in him. He's also defending really well, 30 plus tackles on top of that. So he's a must. Speaking of a tackle machine, I've got Reuben Cotter, my Cowboys boy right there, coming in. I really like him to continue his hard work ethic. I'm really iffy on how the Cowboys go, and that's coming from a Cowboys fan. Was last year a fluke? I'm not too sure. What I know is not a fluke is Cotter's work effort. He'll have his heart on his sleeve each game, taking up run meters. Probably not the biggest run meter, but he will take some runs. He will make some tackles, so really do like him at the starting role. And then the last one, because BKR Sport would absolutely berate me if I didn't have this surname in my team. That is Far Suamawa Ali. Isaac, that is, 200K. He will definitely get some run on the bench at some point during the season, so do really like him there. It's just a cheapie there, just to settle my salary cap down.
Fantastic options. Let's move into the second row forward now. I forked out a bit of money here, but I just think back rowers are starting to prove, and even locks are starting to prove more and more important to the game. And everyone talks about having money in the halves, money in the fullback, which I do. I do actually have, to let you know, I do actually have a remaining salary of 780K, which is absolutely crazy considering who I have. But I've gone with Isaiah Papali'i. Now, I actually think Isaiah Papali'i will be the buy of the year. I think a lot of people are going towards the Tigers in Api Coruscant with that direction. But I think what he did for Parramatta, and if he can continue that type of form, he could definitely be one of the back rowers of the comp, in my opinion. So he is a big price. He's very reliable. He's going to get a lot of ball from the Tigers. He's that damaging forward. He's their attacking threat. You mentioned it, Jermaine Hopgood. I've got him in the starting side, 298K. You can't go wrong. He looks fantastic. He looked great at Penrith junior side as well as the first grade side when he was there. So great choice. Bit of a left field one and still a bit pricey, and it does worry me, but I feel like this guy's going to wind back the clock a little bit at his brand new club. I'm actually going to go with Felice Kafusi here. Felice Kafusi's been someone on Supercoach I've had on and off over the years. I think it's my third or fourth year of Supercoach now. And I've had him on and off, and he has scored some decent points. The only thing obviously worries is your sim bins, which we saw on the weekend, your suspension. But being around Wayne Bennett, maybe he can clean some of that up. And he's definitely got plenty of experience to be one of those bigger players for the Dolphins side. Getting into the Dolphins again, someone who had a nice little season, literally last season, former Parramatta Eel, Ray Stone. You can pick him up at 246K. I think he's a very reliable player. If he's fully fit for the entire season, he could potentially come into that starting side at some point, I think. Zach Hosking on the bench at 450K for the Penrith Panthers. He's come through the Bronco. He looked good there while he was playing with them. He's come into the system of Ivan Cleary now. I mentioned earlier, they're going to be giving their ball more to the front rowers, so you're going to get some big tackle numbers, I think, from players like Zach Hosking. And then just a cheapie, I'm trying to remember the full name. I think it's Riley Price, if you know of him, from the North Queensland Cowboys at 200K to just try and, even up that cap a bit.
Beautiful. Love that. And three of those players I was thinking of. I think I had them in my team, then I took them away. Just so many question marks. Zach Hosking, the first guy that comes off the field, how many minutes will he get at the Panthers? Because when he was starting at the Broncos, statistically, absolutely killed it. I think he had 2 games there where he averaged at least 79 points as well. So he was really good at the Broncos. So if he hits his straps, that's a great decision. Another one that you had, I forgot who it was.
Ray Stone or Felice
originally in my side. Then I was thinking about, Isaiah Papali'i.
Oh, Papali'i. Yeah, you lagged out there. Got it, yep.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Isaiah Papali'i. Just want to see how he goes at the Tigers first part, but if he kills it the first game, I know it's only against the Titans, then he's straight into the side. Just want to see how he goes there first. And then obviously Ray Stone hasn't started much. Really interested to see how he plays on with the Dolphins if he gets that starting spot on the lock position. For me, personally, my second row forwards here, Cam Murray to start, absolute workhorse, the heart and soul of the Bunnies.
Got them as the background. It wasn't even, I didn't even know his team, guys. We've got Payne Haas and Cameron Murray as the background. There you go. That's insane.
That's it. Maybe I just saw the background and I quickly changed it. No, they were in there from the get-go. Paddy Carrigan, got to have him in heart and soul, the Broncos side. Really good trial performance against the Cowboys last week. So hoping to see him really perform well for the Broncos. And then last but not least, Maxi King. I thought he proved himself to be a higher priced starter. He's 540K. Two of his last 3 games, he averaged over 60. So obviously when he came to the Dogs, he had a few seasons off the grid with Melbourne. He had that Achilles injury, came back, started to get more minutes each season. And now, look, if you go Joe Bell's Cafe, if you're a Dogs fan, you'd love that place. He's painted on it. Of course, he's going to get more minutes. So really think Maxi King here with the Bulldogs rising will start to score more points. Go to my bench. Hopgood's there. You've already given him the full spiel. I was saying it just before. His preseason so far just shows what a talent this guy will be for Parramatta. Then I got another Eel, Makahesi Makatoa. Really think he's cheap. He's going to get a little bit more game time, hopefully, this season, but he's just there for a salary cap refresher. And last but not least, some guy who really impressed me from the Bulldogs this preseason challenge was Jacob Preston. I think statistically he was putting in the big numbers. He's at 200K. Slot him straight in. If he gets a bench spot, that'd be great. But I'm going to wait till he gets his opportunity, because when he does, he's going to be an absolute ripper, that kid.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great pick. That's one I didn't think of myself, but watching that Bulldogs trial, he was absolutely ripping it up against the Canberra Raiders. I think he even scored a try actually in the match. I think he might have. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. And even the game before that, the game after that against the who did he play last week? They played the Sharks. He was still really good against the Sharks.
Still
Obviously, they didn't get the win, but still good.
Still a shining light. Let's move into the halves now. This has been a bit tricky for me because I did have Nathan Cleary. I had him up until today, but I feel like some of the early opponents, even though they're tough, I feel like it's the time to shine, show that you're worth some of that big money. And I've actually gone with Mitchell Moses. Moses is, in my opinion, absolutely a top 5 halfback, if not a top 3 halfback. He led the season in try assists last season, went to a grand final. Obviously, didn't win it, but played in that grand final, played consistent footy, played pretty much every round of footy as well. And now that he's pretty much, it's still to be confirmed officially as of now, but it's pretty much said that Mitchell Moses has re-signed with the club, and I think that helps a bit of distraction, and that's why I had Cleary originally, but I think Moses in the first couple of weeks will be that player that can really shine. So look, I've gone with Mitchell Moses as my halfback. I've gone with Cooper Johns. He's a bit cheap. He's 340. With the Manly Seagulls at the moment, Josh Schuster will be out till round 3. Johns has had a great preseason challenge, led Manly to wins during that preseason challenge. So I feel like he could definitely slot into that side with Kieran Foran being out of the side and Schuster being that second pick. So it's probably that third string, almost said quarterback, halfback for the match. But yeah, they're my halves.
Beautiful. Love that. I guess at halfback for me, I've gone the full price Nico Hines. I think even in this preseason challenge, he really showed himself against the Bulldogs that he's still got it. And even in the All-Stars game, one man of the match, he's humming. As long as he stays fit, the Sharks are doing well. He probably won't get Origin selection, unfortunately. I know it's an absolute it's shit. He's definitely an Origin player, but he'll probably play the full season there. So jumping on him at 900K, he can kick goals as well, which is really good. And he was averaging over 81 points too. So that just got me above Nathan Cleary, because Cleary with that Origin period, just not too sure yet. Then at reserve halfback, I've got Tanner Boyd for the Gold Coast Titans. Thought he had a ripper preseason challenge as well. 384K, so relatively cheap, only 40K more than Cooper Johns, and a guarantee to start at halfback. Justin Holbrook has already laid out that'll be Brimo, Foran, Boyd himself, and then at 9 Verrills, and they really put on a show. I know it was against the Dolphins, but they were still bloody good. So really do like Tanner Boyd there in my team to be reserve halfback.
Well, I actually spent 3 weeks and I had to get the info from BKR Sport. I actually had Toby Sexton as my reserve halfback. I thought he was going to get that shot. I thought he was coming into the role. I thought they were going to practice Tanner Boyd at preseason, but it was going to be a kind of failed experiment. But turns out that's not the case. As you mentioned, Tanner Boyd is that halfback going forward at the moment, at least for the Gold Coast Titans. Into my 5/8, sneaky little reveal here. This is a player who is developing a lot more and more. They've played Origin, come off a big season. I think it's a redemption season. My minor premiers are the North Queensland Cowboys, and I'm going with Tom Dearden. Big, decent price, not too high as well, 612K. Some great opponents early on to score points against. I think he's got the Raiders in round 1 as well, so should be scoring decently there. And then another team like the Warriors, where you're a bit unsure about the injury because they've got a few different positions. I've gone with the Dolphins, Isaiah Katoa. I think Isaiah Katoa was great in the trials. Obviously, Milford and Sean O'Sullivan will be the halves, but if they don't perform or there is an injury, he's that player who can slot in. And this will be a great move, especially if Tom Dearden does find himself in a Maroons jersey again. Probably doubtful to find it, but there is absolutely a chance throughout the season, and he is at 216K.
Love it, love it. Really good shout there with Tommy Dearden. Loves to run the footy, which is great for Supercoach. I think he was averaging around 20 runs, especially in that final series as well. So really good choice there. I've kept it simple. I've gone Cam Munster as my 5'8". As I mentioned with Harry Grant, big dependency on Munster and Grant to really fill the boots there without Pappenhausen at the back. We saw Munster have a bit of a roll on when he needed to. He's got a big game against Parramatta this next weekend or this weekend, whenever you're seeing this. So I do think that he will provide the goods. Really good high average, so chucked him in there. And then on the bench, a Melbourne Storm teammate who might get a few looks in with Pappenhausen out, and that's Tyrone Wishart at 234K. He played 5'8" in the trials and was pretty damn good at it. Scored a try against the Roosters, and then had a few shining lights there against the Warriors, especially at the back end. I actually thought when I was watching the game that it was Cam Munster playing in 19 because they've all shaven their heads over in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Turns out it was actually Tyrone Wishart, and I was like, damn, this kid's got something. So definitely a good backup. He could be a 14 role as well, I think, for the Melbourne Storm. Got to review their roster. That's just off the top of the head, but he's definitely an opportunity there to score points and at least rise in value so I can sell him off for someone else. He's not a long-term pick, just a nice short-term one there.
Absolutely. We'll move into the wings and centres here, and he is a big price, this boy, but I think he deserves that price. You mentioned it earlier, goal kicking is a big factor, and he loves to goal kick. A lot of people think he could be the top point scorer throughout the league. They're coming off a preseason challenge win. Turbo does look like he will be playing the season, hopefully, obviously, with the repairment over in Philadelphia. And I've gone with Ruben Garrick. I think his preseason form looks fantastic. He was tearing pretty much a full-strength Roosters apart last week at the Central Coast. So whether it be fullback or back in his preferred position on the wing, I think Ruben Garrick's a great choice. Bit of a left field pick here, but I think he was absolutely fantastic at the Titans, and I think his preseason form looked great, some damaging runs. I was actually surprised at the price of 580K, but I think it's worth it for Greg Marju. I think he's proven that he can be a starter in that side as well. Look, I've actually got Knights having quite a poor season, but for the most part, I think he's a great player and I think a great choice. Joseph Suwali, I think the Roosters are going to get him plenty of ball. He's at 590K. They look to him long-term for sure. He loves to score tries and had a great season. I think he'll back that up in an even better Rooster roster in 2023. And then the last one in the starting side, which I guess I've got four that are 200K here, but I feel like this player is probably the more likely to play out of the four. Paul Alamotti from the Bulldogs. Paul Alamotti, again, like Jacob Preston, great in the trials. You've heard a lot about him. Now you've seen it. Probably shorter debut. Khan Pereira, we saw him score that hat trick within 10 minutes for the Titans. He was fantastic, 200K as well. Bailey Hodgson, who was playing fullback for the Knights in their first trial. If Ponga does go down, hopefully he doesn't. There's no more Tex Hoy. He looks like that option long-term, and he could even be a utility role, as the Knights do seem to use utility for some of the wrong reasons. And the last one, I've got a J, but I'm trying to work out who the J is for. Josiah or Hosea Karapani from the South Sydney Rabbitohs. They seem to debut a lot of centres, and like Isaiah Tuss, for example. So I've gone with him as a cheapie there.
Oh, thank God. It is refreshing to hear that you've got four 200K players on as your centers, because I was going to seem like amateur hour here. I'll start with my top players. First one is Brian To'o. Great player, great ball runner. Will definitely get over 200 meters each game for you. What's really interesting is to see which side he lands on with Taylor May out. Now, he usually plays on the left, but moved to the right to accommodate for May. Sunia Tarava is coming in as well. So you're not too sure whether Sunia will play left as well or whether he'll go to the right. Regardless, if he stays on the right, Brian To'o, that right side is basically the new Penrith left side, because they've got Nathan Cleary, Liam Martin, Stephen Crichton, and now Brian To'o. If they go to the left side, well, traditionally, they love coming down left with Jerome Luai. So he could be scoring a lot more tries, which he didn't score as many last season. So catch 22, but you still win. It's win-win between which way Brian To'o ends up. So got to have him in my team. And he doesn't score tries and still averages over 50 for a winger. So just need to take him there. Then I've got one of your boys, Will Penasini, as a center, averaged over 50 in his 5 of his last 6 games as Supercoach. That's all I need him to do here. Just keep that average above 50. He's gone up and up in confidence, so really do like him on the right edge there for the Parramatta Eels. Another Titan that I think is really lowly priced because he had a ripper game last weekend against the Dolphins is Aaron Schopp. He was really good. He's 471K. Really just banking on him to have a really good season on that left-hand side there for the Gold Coast Titans. So stay tuned for how he goes. Bit iffy on his form, but really hoping he does pull through for me. And then all my cheapies come through. Paul Alamotti is a must. If he's on that left edge, which he is very likely to be, you've got Burton, Kickout, Alamotti into Josh Adokar. He's definitely going to see a lot of ball. He's going to assist, if not hold on to it and score. So he's a must. He's got Kickout on his inside. He's got bloody Adokar on his outside. Why wouldn't he assist? And then you've got the Titans' fast-paced runner, Khan Pereira. You hope he starts on the left wing because he can finish from anywhere. Such great speed. If you get the chance, check out his Burley highlights last season. The tries he scored were unbelievable. The way he could just get out of any position and just sprint through. Absolutely crazy. Like Brian Abana in Rugby 08, for anyone who has that nostalgia in him. You could just run from anywhere. Then I've got Will Warbrick. Thought he had a really good trial against the Warriors and a really big opportunity for him to start as a winger this weekend against the Parramatta Eels. And last one, a Cowboy. I thought he was one of Fiji's best in the Rugby League World Cup. Is Taniela Sadrugu. He is a brilliant player. Center wing here. I thought he'd be a second rower, but we'll see how he goes. He'll definitely get a start eventually. He'll be cruising in my bench spot for a while to come.
There you go. Well, we get into the final position. Now, there's a name you've mentioned, so I'm going to go straight to my bench for the fullback position. He'll probably be playing on the wing, but Taruva, we've seen some great things from him at the Penrith Panthers, seen some great things from him in the New South Wales Cup final as well. So Taruva, 270K, absolute must in the side. And then my fullback, look, I've had James Tedesco for years, and you could argue that he's got one of that best sides around him. Pappenhausen's out for the first few weeks, but definitely can build off that. But I'm going to give Scott Drinkwater a chance, like Tom did, and I think the Cowboys have a really nice draw in the first couple of weeks at 740K. You could easily see him get to around that 800,000 and then sell him when, say, Pappenhausen or Travojevic comes back based off form. But Scott Drinkwater is my starting fullback.
Love that. Love a Cowboy in the starting lineup. I've gone someone safe as houses. If I needed someone to take my daughter to formal, someone who I trust, who's going to be really nice to me, James Tedesco. He is 136K, a little bit exy, but he gets the job done. Latrell, he can have a good game and he can miss real badly. So that's why I've steered clear of him. Tom Trbojevic was also tempting, but very aware of that hamstring as well. He might take it easy in the first round because he's got that second round break. So James Tedesco for me, he'll go hard. He's got the Dolphins first up. That's a 100+ game for him every day of the week. So be a great start. Might even captain him now that I think about it. So he's my main man. And as you said, mate, if you don't have Taruva as your replacement fullback, what are you doing? 275K, great for the salary. It's going to play most of the season, let's be honest here, because Taylor May's done with an ACL. So you'd be silly not to have him as your replacement fullback. That finishes up my team.
Fantastic. Well, there's our teams. Do you have if you've got it on your app, do you have a projected round one score?
Oh, man, let me check.
Apparently, according to mine, it will be 873. That's with Harry Grant as captain. However, I haven't fully decided my captain for the match and could strongly consider Mitch Moses.
I'm looking around, playing around with my captains. The best score I can get is 1,055, which, I like to be up there in the 1,200 zone, but we'll see how we go. Surely a lot of young guys in my team, and as well as your team as well, who are going to get a lot more game time than last season. So they're not accounting for those points, that's for sure.
I think we've got some absolutely fantastic teams, guys. Make sure you let us know what player is your favourite in regards to our team, who you need in your Supercoach team. This has become an annual video, and you guys will absolutely see Random Stats Guy on the channel in 2024. Thank you for jumping on, man. You've got a fantastic team, and good luck in the 2023 season.
You too, mate. May the best man win.
Let's do it.